Well, hi, folks. Welcome. Good to have you with us. We're going to talk about how independence will find you. It's kind of a weird topic, how independence will find you. It's we're seeking for independence, right? We are, and we are looking to be independent. Now, we're not talking about becoming fully independent. I have to dispel some of the confusion. Some people say, well, I don't know if I want to go with Lee Sheldon's model because I want to maintain my referral sources. Well, you know what? I want you to maintain your referral sources too. There are your referral sources. That's part of your practice, part of your business, part of what's successful for you, and that shouldn't change. We're trying to augment what you already have, and we can, and we've talked about that. But it's not an either or at all. It's just not. It is creating a business model for yourself, and what I'm saying and what others are proving is that you can open up your model and have more of an exchange relationship where you're getting referrals and you're sending referrals out. So it isn't just a gimme, gimme, gimme. It's you're giving something back. And of course, the advantage is you're giving back to the best dentists, which makes your life a lot easier and, more importantly, your patient's life a lot easier. So that's what we're talking about here when we're talking about independence. Yes, eventually, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think we're all going into a group model if we're in practice long enough. And I think the periodontist needs to be in charge of that group model. We're on a training ground right now through the IDS in order to be able to teach you, and more importantly for you to learn how to get better control of your practice from a business standpoint so that you can gradually move to the point where if it does in your area become necessary to enter a group practice, you can be in charge of that group practice. So just understand that's where we are, and of course our programming is all dedicated to that. So let's talk about how independence will find you and what that's all about. Okay, good. So let's go to this and let's see what in fact we're seeing here. So let's talk about components of attraction. Some of you who have gone to our seminars have seen some of this, and I apologize in advance if you've seen it. I hope to throw a new wrinkle here and there. We always do, and I will this time as well. So there are components of attraction. Let me just make sure that I'm not missing anything here. Good. There are components of attraction. In other words, you can become a magnet for patients in your area. You can actually become a magnet for doctors in your area. And that's the key here. You want to become a magnet. So it isn't just marketing. And we spent an awful lot of time on marketing. We talked about marketing a lot. This year, we're going to talk about marketing next year and the year after. But at the same time, there needs to be some gravitational pull in order to be able to make that marketing more effective. So let's talk about the components of attraction. One is differentiation. How are you different from every other doctor, every other dentist in your area? And that's going to vary from area to area based on your strengths. And we've got to make sure that those strengths are magnified and that everybody understands what those strengths are. So if your strength is writing, good, your strength is writing. If your strength is organizational work, your strength is organizational work. How do you differentiate? What is it that you have in your practice that's different from everybody else? How do you differentiate yourself from the general dentist? Because, as you know, patients are becoming confused. They don't know the difference between a general dentist and a specialist. Well, they don't know the difference between a general dentist and a periodontist, maybe. They do know a specialist. And remember, you're a specialist. You are a specialist. We're seeing medical specialists all the time. And so it's not that much of a departure for a patient who has complex dental needs to want to see a dental specialist, and that's who you are. Okay, the next is public relations. How you do well for the community. What you do in order to be able to make the community better and better and better for you. No, I'm sorry. The community better and better, not for you. The community better and better. And by doing that, by your helping the community, of course, that increases your attraction. And finally is marketing. And we've covered a lot about marketing. I'll cover a couple of new wrinkles today, some new things we've done that you haven't seen yet before. And we'll talk about that. So let's talk about differentiation first. Okay, the first is the second opinion. People are going to come to your office and they're going to say, all right, I want to get a second opinion. what do you do about the second opinion? We talked about this a little bit earlier this year, and so part of this is a wrap up of that. And so with the second opinion, the first thing you want to do is to come up with all of the questions that you want the patient to ask the second opinion, so that the patient is comparing apples to apples, so the patient understands that you are you and that other person is that other person. And so the first thing we recommend, and this is the first thing we did, was to go to your staff meeting, create that staff meeting that we're encouraging you to have once a week, and it's a planning meeting. And the first question you're asking your staff members is, what do your patients ask? Because if your patients are asking certain questions, you want to have good answers to those questions. You want those answers to the questions in the operatory, but you also want the same answers or similar answers to those questions when the patient is seeking a second opinion. But more importantly, in the second opinion document, what you're creating is, how are you already different, so the patient can understand that. So if you have a laser, well, you're different. If you do perioscopy, you're different. If you use a ceramic implant, you're different. If you use a CT scan and in vivo software and make surgical guides for every patient, then you're different. What are the differences that you have? And so you create this document, because essentially you want the patient to ask those questions, and you're giving the patient this document. So do they guarantee their work? We've talked about that. We do guarantees. And most implant surgeons do not do guarantees. We can tailor the guarantee, and we again did that earlier this year. If you have questions about that, just send us an email and we'll give you more about the implant warranty and how you can cover yourself and make sure that your patient is covered, and to give yourself that little bit of advantage of an implant warranty. But look at, we use, now we're using PRF rather than PRGF, but do they use that? No, most offices don't. And so if you're using that, that's an additional tool. Make sure your patient knows that. The patient doesn't know unless you tell them, unless you tell him or her. The patient doesn't know how you're different. Do you operate using a CT scan? Okay, and there's add-ons. We give all of our fees up front. Once I've given an upfront fee, that's it. If I miss something, the patient needs an additional bone graft, patient has an implant failure, I didn't expect to be splitting a ridge, whatever it is, if I quoted the fee up front and I told the patient, this is the fee, here, pay me in advance, and you'll never have another fee for this particular service again, by God, that's true. There's never a fee for that particular service again. So, people don't like being nickeled and dimed to death. And so let's get all of those fees up front to assure the patient, this is it. We won't charge you for the additional CT scan. We won't charge you for this. We won't charge you for that. We're just going to keep it as is. This is your entire fee. When we did that for a while. We tested that out, and then that worked. That worked well. So what do we do to make that more professional? And so we did this what separates us document. Here's some close-ups of that so you can see some of the things that we put in. And what do we come up with? Something like 5, 10, 15, probably 20 different categories comparing Solid Bite, which, as you know, is our brand name, to others. So come up, once you've done this questionnaire, and you played with it for a few weeks, and then you find, there are other questions we need to put in there. Once you've got that finalized, then you can go to your printer and you can create a document like this and pass it out everywhere. And put it up on your website. Put it every place you can, so that people are comparing your practice and seeing how your practice is different from other people's practices. Okay, so let's go into public relations a little bit more. And the key to public relations is the written word. I talked about if you like to write. I hope you like to write. And if you don't like to write, hire an English teacher and have that English teacher help you write. Go to Upworks.com, which I probably have a slide on that, and find a copywriter, or find somebody who's good at writing English. You don't need copy. We're not talking about advertising copy here. We're talking about writing articles about the 4 or 5 main services that you provide in your office. So what are they? Dental implants, soft tissue grafting, treatment of chronic perio, maybe TMJ. Whatever those areas are, you treat those. And so let's have a paper or a document that's there that you've dictated, that you've written. It only has to be one page, 500 words, and you do those 500 words, then give it to an English teacher, give it to somebody else, and say, make this sound good, or make this readable to the lay consumer, because we tend to write in doctor talk, don't we? So make this interesting. Give it to somebody, pay them $50, and they'll rewrite it for you. And then you have that document up front. So in the 3 or 4 basic services, we already know what we do with that. Somebody calls and says, how much are dental implants? Oh, Dr. Smith just wrote a paper on dental implants. How about if I send that out to you? That type of thing. That way you're able to get the patient's name and address. How about if I email it to you? Then you're able to email it to that person, and now you've got the patient's name and address and email address, and you can use that for future marketing purposes. So make sure you have enough documents there. You don't have to write a book, but have enough documents there so your front desk person can interact and can get the patient's name, address, and email address. Because if the patient may not decide to get the work done right now, at least you have a way of staying in continuous contact with that patient. So when the patient is ready, the patient calls you first because you've been in continuous contact with that patient. Okay. So I wrote a few articles, and you see this. This is more of a personal thing. Have you been put on a guilt trip? How many times are patients blamed for periodontal disease because they didn't floss right, they didn't brush right, and they don't want to feel blamed. They don't want to feel that they've, that they're totally to blame, and they're not totally to blame. Periodontal disease is a disease. Wouldn't blame anybody for heart disease or kidney disease. We wouldn't blame them. I mean, yes, there are things that we can do to contribute to all of those things that may not be so good, but we can't just blame the patient. And so patients have been put on a guilt trip. You know that. If you're my age, when you went to dental school, you were put on a guilt trip too by senior faculty members, often in the perio department. So you know what I'm talking about. So you're relating to them, and I wrote this article. As I said, Upworks.com is a place where you can go for freelancing if you don't have a local English department or someplace where you can have somebody write for you. And then you create enough, you accumulate enough of these articles, and you create a booklet. And this booklet is something that we made up. This is something we did on PowerPoint or Microsoft Word. We made a cardboard cover, and we had 10, 12, 14 pages in between. Then we bought a binding machine, and my wife binds these little booklets. Even though we have a book, we still have these booklets in the reception room, and people still take them. And they have my name on them, and they have our phone number on there. And so more written material goes out, more people come back. Very simple principle. So I got really good. I played with PowerPoint. I was able to draw teeth with PowerPoint. I was actually able to create these diagrams. You can see what this is all about. Well, you don't have to do that, but you can find somebody who does that. Chances are somebody in your office does that. Somebody likes graphic design a little bit and create an illustration for your article. So now you've written the article. Now you're expanding on it a little bit. Can you make the article a little bit better, more interesting? Because now there are pictures associated with the articles, so people can look at these articles and really relate to the pictures. We look at pictures. Okay, so now that becomes a book. So that's how we go from written article, which is where you start. Make sure you're starting there, and then you go to booklet, and then you go to book. It took me 7 years to write my first book because I accumulated that many articles over 7 years, and the book essentially wrote itself because I'd written those articles. So we start. Younger guys, start now. Okay, older guys, you might have to write a few more articles faster in order to be able to get to a book. But first is to make sure that those articles are written. Okay. Next part of public relations is public service. So we've talked about the charitable giving campaign, and we've sent that all out to you. If you need it again, just let us know. We'll send the charitable giving campaign. So the charitable giving campaign essentially now aligns you with charities, or aligns us with 8 charities in our area. 2 of these are national charities, actually 6 of them are local charities. So now you can go out to the charities and say, hey, look what I'm going to do. Anytime a patient comes in who's referred, they'll write a check for $50 or more to your charity or one of the other 7 charities, and we'll send that directly to you. How do you think the charity's going to feel about that? Charity's going to feel real good about that. And they're going to tell their friends, and their friends may make an appointment with you simply because you're part of their charitable giving campaign. Or they're part of your charitable giving campaign, I'm sorry. So there are opportunities here for you to get patients in directly from the charities, simply by going to the charities and showing them the little document that you've created for the charitable giving campaign. So how do we do this? As you all know, the advertising that we have on our website and our magazine is $79 for a full examination, including CT scan and x-rays. Well, if the patient's referred either by a doctor or by a patient, we do even better. $50 to charity rather than $79 to me. You just keep on accumulating more and more donations. And the more donations you accumulate, the better it is. In fact, we sent a reporting document to each of the charities at least once a quarter, letting them know how much we donated or how much came in through our office as a result of the charitable giving campaign. Because sometimes they don't track as well as we do. So if you're collecting a few $1,000s for each of these charities each year, that means a lot to them. They need the money. And of course, it means a lot to your patients, because your patients feel good about you being part of that charitable giving campaign. It's very, very, very successful. Of course, they can donate more than $50. Notice down here, we've got check boxes for $75, $100, $125, $200, and people will volunteer to give more money to the charity. They want to support the charity too. Well, that becomes then a little internal marketing piece. This is the latest of the cards that we use. I'm not sure you've seen this one yet. This is a fold-over card. Okay, so let's take a look at this Care to Share card, and those are all of the those are the 4 sides. You can see it right here. Okay, so we just fold it over like this. Okay, you can hold that in your wallet. So let's take a look at the card itself. So we look down here, and this is the title part of the card. Okay, typical things: email, phone number. So that's one part. Second part, take a look at 10 ways of differentiating your practice from any other practice. Put that right on the card. How are you different? So it's a mini what separates us. The next one is a place Care to Share. And essentially then the patient, your existing patient, can give this card to his or her friend or relative, and then the patient can come in. Now, or the new patient can come in. Now, it's important that the assistant write her initials in the corner, the assistant who's passing out these cards, so your assistant will get some credit, get a little gift if that patient comes into your office. So everybody's rewarded. And of course, we can't promise a patient, the old patient, the referring patient, a gift in advance. That's not legal. At least it's not legal in Florida. It's probably not legal in most states. But after the patient does come in, you can give them a little present, a little reward, a coffee card, whatever you want to give them, to thank that patient for referring a new patient, new friend, to you. And finally, here we go, nice picture. And this came originally from our magazine, $50 to charity, and present this coupon. And that's what a patient's going to get. And yes, we include the CT scan in it. And yes, I think it's important that we have a CT scan included in that, whether you have a CT scan or not. You know, patient coming in. Most of our patients with complex dental needs need CT scans. If they're an alveolar bone, we need to know where the sinuses are. We're going to be doing dental implants, whatever that is. Make an arrangement with your local radiology facility, whether they come in as by truck or whether you're sending them to the local radiology facility. If you're sending a number of patients over there, you can get that fee down and let them know that you'll be paying that fee in advance. So when the patient comes in, you'll have a disc. You put the disc on your software. Make sure you have some 3D software where you can show the patient what's going on in his or her mouth. And you've got the disc, you've got the software, and now you can give the patient a great demonstration and do some pre-surgical planning with the CT scan right at the time of the examination. It's very impressive to do that. So whether you spend the $100,000 on the CT scan in advance and have it in your office, or whether you invest $150 each time and pay that to your radiology facility, or $125, whatever that number is, and they'll take a CT scan for you, you can probably get it down to that fee. You're either paying the $100,000 for the machine, or you're paying $125 each time for the patient to get the free CT scan, if you will. Okay, so there we go. There's the 10 questions that we ask. It's a little bit different, okay, but you get the idea. You see the questions that we're asking here, and we want the patient to identify with. Okay, good. Now this is what it's resulted in. So I received the Leadership in Medicine Award from the local American Red Cross. Okay, and there was a nice dinner, and about 150, 200 people attended. And 5 of us or 6 of us got were recognized, and we were one of them. And that's the type of thing that occurs when you're involving these charities. So now this gets published in the American Red Cross newsletter, and who knows, it might be published in your local paper as well. So you're not doing it for that purpose, but this is what happens as a result of lining yourself up with multiple charities. I know some people say line yourself up with a single charity, and we found we've done very well by doing multiple charities, because you see that as well. When we reach a certain goal, we reach $100,000 or $25,000 or whatever it is, we send that out to our local newspaper. How many dentists are collecting $100,000 to charity? I think this might have happened at what? Not sure. Can't read it right now. Yeah, this was the $100,000 milestone when we reached that. But really, when we reached $25,000, we publicized that, and there were some papers that picked that up. When we reached the $100,000 milestone, papers, and I'm talking about the main newspaper in our area, Florida Today, picked that up, and one of the local TV stations picked that up as well. It's a nice thing. Okay. The implant lecture. So implant lecture is going to be a combination of public relations and marketing. But let's look at it from the public relations standpoint. You're giving an implant lecture. Now, why do I call it an implant lecture? I suppose to some degree, and to maybe a large degree, it is an implant lecture. But you know what? It's also a lecture on perio. It's also showing befores and afters of patients who've saved their teeth. And they came in expecting to do dental implants, but they didn't need them. So we can do whatever we want at that implant lecture, but it is dental implants right now that attracts people to a lecture. So you want to use that. You want to use that in order to be able to attract them to you. Once they are attracted to you for the lecture, you can say whatever you want at the lecture. And it makes a difference, because then you're differentiating yourself from the dental implant clinics out there that they see on TV. Very important. So you see in the newspaper ad, which you received earlier this year, and there were a couple things that were important here. One is, do you have questions that never get answered by your dentist? That happened to be a key question, which drew more people to our lecture just by asking that question. Another question that we asked was, where is it? By the way, sometimes dental implants are not the best answer. So we put that right in the ad. It attracts people. And then we have to disseminate that. So, all right, the newspaper is good. The newspaper is winding down, as you know. We can tell that because the amount of money that the newspaper is charging for our ad is not nearly as much as it was before. So that means their circulation is gradually going down. So we want more people to come to the lecture. So let's advertise on radio. And radio is good. If you're going to a good radio company, they'll be able to give you their demographics to see whether their main lister, or what the age is of their main lister, 50, 60, 65. That's what we're looking for, right? And so there's certain stations you already know in your area that are going to attract those types of patients. And we'll do this kind of a, let me go back to a share, and let me do this for a second. Good. All right, so let's play that ad.
Do you need extensive dental work? Tired of hiding your smile? Careful what you choose from the menu? Not getting your dental questions answered? On Wednesday, November 15th at 6 p.m., Dr. Lee Sheldon, Dr. Matt Sheldon, and Dr. Michelle Furtado from Solid Bite will be hosting their Change Your Smile, Change Your Life talk next to their office in Melbourne. See how you can have implants and teeth all on the same day. Discover why dental implants are not always the right answer. Find out the little-known secret about dental implant surgeons. Get answers to your dental questions from specialists who've been solving complex dental problems for years. Thousands of Dr. Sheldon's patients are smiling and chewing anything they want. Wouldn't you like to have a beautiful smile and chew everything you'd like to? Find out how at the Change Your Smile, Change Your Life talk in Melbourne on Wednesday, November 15th at 6 p.m. To reserve your seat, please call 321-259-8000. Again, that's 321-259-8000. You can have a beautiful smile.
Now, we ran this on 2 stations, and those 2 stations did pretty well. So we added a 3rd station last month, and that 3rd station brought in another 6 patients. We picked this talk station, and then we had a light rock station, and then we put it on an oldie station. 3rd one was the oldie station. And we keep track, when the potential patient calls in, and Smith is taking the reservation for the dental implant lecture. Of course, we ask, how did you hear about this? Well, we heard it on the radio. Oh, which radio station? Or we read it in the newspaper. Okay, we only have 1 newspaper ad. So that way we're tracking our marketing. We know which marketing is working and perhaps which marketing isn't. For example, we had it on 3 radio stations. One of the radio stations, which was pulling very well, didn't pull very well last month. And so we changed the time that the ads were running on that radio station that used to pull but didn't pull anymore. So you can tweak it. You can tweak it month by month based on the stats that come in. But you've got to know your stats in order to be able to help the radio station to change that. Now we've made some changes as far as when it's going to run. And now when we do our dental implant lecture in July, we'll see what happened and whether that tweak works.
Do you need extensive?
Okay, so then at the dental implant lecture, we want to talk about who does dental implants. We talk about this, and we can relate it to needing heart surgeries. Let's assume you need a triple bypass. You go to the cardiothoracic surgeon and you need the bypass the cardiothoracic surgeon has. All the diagnostic equipment, and he has the team, and he just looks the part. And you say, that's the person to do it, but can you imagine going to that cardiothoracic surgeon and saying, hey, listen, I want to check with my general physician and see if he can do it cheaper? See, but that happens in dentistry all the time, doesn't it? I do this at the dental implant lecture. You'd never go to your general physician for a bypass, yet it's the Wild West out there. This is what's going on in dentistry. You can take a 3-year residency, or you can take a 3-day course and still say you do dental implants. You've got to be really careful as to who the dental implant surgeon is. And so you can incorporate that in as part of your talk. So that's not the person who's going to be doing your work, is it? You want the one on the left, not the right. And they get it. They really get it. Excuse me. Remember, part of marketing is making sure that we get success stories and pictures. Okay, this is Eddie. So this is Eddie afterwards. And if you ask for success stories, you get something like this. You've got to keep on asking for success stories in order to be able to get something like that. Now it's Google reviews as well. You can ask for one or the other. You can do both. But keep on asking, because eventually you're going to get a quote like this. Or Steve, who came in, and Steve had big problems. He said, I hear you do dental implants. I want you to rip all those teeth out. I want you to do your solid bite. And I looked at Steve, and he didn't have a pocket any place, and he didn't have much as far as caries goes. I said, Steve, we don't need to take out your teeth. We can use your teeth as your implants. And it says Steve got this. See, we don't always have to do dental implants. We can use natural teeth too and come up with a beautiful result, often a better result. And again, here's the quote from Steve. And these pictures are running at our dental implant lecture. People like stories. They want to hear what the story is, what's happened with the patient, what the patient has done, how the patient's life was changed. We have this story about Amy. I don't have Amy's picture here, but Amy had a horrible smile. Her husband finally left her for somebody else. Her husband had always told her you can get a denture if you want a better smile. And her husband leaves her for somebody else with a nice smile. And Amy decides to get dental implants done and ends up with a beautiful, beautiful smile. Well, her high school boyfriend saw her on Facebook, saw her picture. High school boyfriend who's in Colorado, and Amy, of course, is here in Florida. And they got together, and they're back together again. See, those stories, that's what you want to do at a dental implant lecture. It's the stories of your patients. It's important. There's John. John's a security guard, didn't have any money. You know how much security guards make, and security guards don't make it. And so he knew what he wanted. John was a recluse. He worked night shift, and he wouldn't do much during the day, and he was embarrassed to go outside. So eventually he came to see us. He didn't have the money right away, but he sold a boat, and he sold some belongings, and then he was able to get to the point where he'd be able to see us. And he had that. And now John's dating, and John goes outside, and John's a real friendly guy. He was a mean guy in the other picture. He's a friendly guy now, and he's doing very, very well. And again, you get a success story that's like this. And when you see a success story like this, you start to get a feeling as to who you are, or the potential patient has a feeling as to who you are, particularly when we're seeing picture success story, picture success story, picture success story. That's what you want to get. And then there's Peggy. And, I could have taken Peggy's teeth out and put implants in. Peggy would look exactly the way she does right now. Because take a look at her. You see how prognathic, or how much her upper front teeth stick out. Well, if all I did was take out her teeth and put in dental implants, her upper teeth would still stick out. With proper surgical planning, and by seeing a trained surgeon, you can not only take out teeth and put in dental implants, but you can resculpt the jaw and do some plastic surgery on the jaw in order to be able to create a better look. And so that's how Amy ended up, and that's how Peggy ended up. And so now you see the before and after, and now you see the success story that Peggy wrote. And if you've seen our magazine, or if you go on our website, how could you ever get anybody to say that last sentence? You couldn't say it yourself. It had to be said by a patient. Very, very successful. Good stuff. And usable in your marketing. But you have to keep on asking for it. And I know it's a bit of a pain, and you have to train your staff to do that. And you ask for success stories, and then you check the next week and see how we've done on success stories. Make sure that it's constantly there. You don't have to bug people. You have to nudge them a little bit. You have to kind of egg them on, because we all forget. But keep on getting these success stories and pictures. Then you can end up with something that is really, really good. So success story, take pictures, and then distribute them. The internet is important, and we've talked about Google reviews. And Google reviews are extremely important. You need a lot of Google reviews because you're frankly competing with other dentists in your area. And I'm not saying other periodontists or other specialists. You're competing with other dentists in your area who know the importance of Google reviews. So we have to get those ourselves. And the Google review can become your success story as well. You can use them both. Okay, so with 4.9, 124 reviews. And that also raises your SEO, search engine optimization. You have more reviews, you're going to show up on Google Maps because people have recognized you. So you get a success story like this. And the success story will come into me. It'll come to my email address as soon as that success story is written. Or, I'm sorry, as soon as that Google review is written. And it's important that we respond to that Google review. That also raises your SEO. So when we receive a Google review like this, then we want to respond to it. By the way, if we receive a negative review, remember everybody's reading that. And that's what this warning is. Best practices for responding to reviews. Make sure, even if it's a negative review, that you respond positively. Okay, because everybody else is reading it. I know sometimes it kills you. You did everything you could to help the patient, and you still get a negative review anyway. I know that. It's happened to me too. You can respond with some level of assurance, or we're happy to see you again. We'll do everything we can to make things right. Something like that. Don't forget who your reader is. They want to see that. Okay, so then I wrote my response to Mary's kind review. Mary, it is such a pleasure to see you each time. Thanks for your loyalty as well as your kind words. And then sign my name. Okay, Google likes that when you respond. So you do something like this. You create a video. So that's what we can do. Pictures, you get pictures like this, and this is on a little picture frame that we have in our financial arrangements room. Just continuing smile after smile after smile with the doctor and patient smiling together. So imagine I'm sitting here, patients, and I'm doing financial arrangements. The patient is sitting there, and up above my head, as the patient's looking and seeing that it's going to cost whatever it's going to cost, they're seeing smile after smile after smile. They want to be part of that smile club as well. So can use this. It's very, very easy, very beneficial. And this is going on. We have that little picture frame in all three of our financial arrangements rooms so that patients can see who they could be, what they could be like. So that's it for this session. We'll be back on July 18th. We're going to be running some more topical sessions, some sessions that will pertain to you right now. The prescription drug monitoring program is coming in most states, maybe all states, on July 1st. We're going to help you with that. We're going to talk about some strategies there, which have been very successful for us. We've got some legal considerations we'll be covering in August, and lots of considerations with regard to the World Workshop and how we can utilize that to our advantage. We'll cover that early in the season. So thanks for being with us. Have a nice vacation. We're going to have a nice vacation too. We'll see you again on July 18th. Bye-bye.